So my name is Najmi, and these are my teammates, Hazwani and also Najla. So as for today, we are going to interview Mr. Mustafa, which is now works as an English teacher in International Islamic School at Kontan. Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So Mr. Mustafa, can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay. My name is Mustafa. I'm an American, but I've lived in Malaysia now for 25, almost 26 years. 26 years.
Already.
Married to a Malaysian, and I have 5 children, and they're all Malaysian, born in Malaysia.
So you're married at America?
No, we got married here in Malaysia.
Right in Malaysia, I
Yeah.
see. Okay. So I think we can proceed with our questions. Okay, for the first question, when do you first get the interest to be a Muslim?
Actually, my wife studied in the U.S., so I met her in the U.S., and so she's the one who introduced me to Islam.
I see. So your wife some kind of teach you what Islam is?
No. She introduced me to a brother from Syria, who was a professor at the university we're at, and he actually was the first person to teach me about Islam.
I see. Right. So for the I think that's the answer of the second question, which is a person who influenced you to know more about Islam, right?
Mm.
So after you have met the teacher from Iraq,
Syria.
From
Syria.
From Syria.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does he introduce you into the religion?
He mostly, I don't think, because it's been a long time ago, like 30 years ago. Mostly, he didn't really teach me like how to pray and things like that, because at the time I was not Muslim. I was just learning about Islam. So what I remember actually mostly was him introducing me to translations from the Quran and telling me stories from the Quran. It was mainly what he did.
Okay. Now, do you think after you came to be a Muslim, do you think that Islamic lifestyle is easy to be practiced?
Alhamdulillah, for me, I would say it's been easy. Part of it being easy is probably living in Malaysia, which is part of the reason why I've chosen to live in Malaysia. I think as a Muslim, it's much easier to live here in Malaysia than it would be in the United States. I think in the United States there's a lot of cultural pressures that make it difficult. Probably not so much for adults, it makes it difficult for the children.
Okay. Right. Maybe for the last question from me, the fourth question, is there any difficulties or challenges that you face in the beginning of your days as a Muslim?
Alhamdulillah, not really. I don't know. I guess about the only thing I could mention is that non-Muslims can drink and things like that, and so my non-Muslim friends who I had been friends with before that, there were some who tried to pressure me to drink, but other than that, not really any kind of difficulty. And even that wasn't a difficulty. It was just they had to learn that no, I wasn't going to drink, and after they figured out that I wasn't going to drink, then that stopped.
So maybe your friends just asked you to drink along with them.
Yeah, things like that. But once they realized that I wasn't going to drink, then it wasn't really a problem.
All right. Okay. So for the next question.
Okay. For the next question, what are your family's reaction when you want to convert to be a Muslim?
Their main reaction was for me to make sure it's what I wanted to do before I did it. That I shouldn't, I shouldn't take the decision lightly. That I should make sure it's what I wanted to do. But if they said if that's what I wanted to do, then no problem.
Okay. What is the first Islamic lifestyle that you follow, such as fasting or do a prayer like Zuhr Asar?
Fasting.
Fasting is the first thing.
I guess, yeah, fasting. Yeah, I fasted before I knew how to pray. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you see when you fast? What do you feel?
Is it fun?
Again, it's been a long time ago.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to really remember. Of course, there's some difficulty with it because I mean, I think even for people who have been fasting all their, well, not all their lives, but since they were young, there's still challenges with it. If there weren't challenges, it wouldn't be a, yeah, I mean, it's probably not as difficult as people who haven't fasted think that it is. And I mean, I think you know, it's a challenge, but it's not a.
It's not that hard to face.
Yeah, it's not something that I said, oh, I can't do this. And
So for
give
for
up
you,
on being Muslim. Yeah.
for not eating a day is something simple, not that hard.
It's, yeah.
Some kind of.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do you try to spread Islam to your non-Muslim friends?
I'm not sure how to answer that one. In that, I mean, the answer is yes, but I'm not pushy about it, and I don't like talking to people say we need to be a Muslim. My feeling is that I should be a good Muslim, and that people will see that and have good.
Example.
Yeah, this is a good example. Rather.
So maybe we can proceed for the next question.
Okay. Is there any other medium that you use to understand more about Islam? For example, like you said just now, you know about Islam from your wife at US. But is there any other medium like YouTube you learn from there?
Okay. Because there's sort of in different stages. Early on, I spent a year at Penn State actually working my PhD, but I probably spent more time learning about Islam there than I did working on a PhD. And I actually quit the program, so I didn't actually get my PhD there. But while I was there, I was active in the Muslim Students Association, and I had a group of friends that I met with every Friday for Halakha. One of them being a Malaysian, one of them was from Turkey, and the other one Palestinian, who hadn't really lived in Palestine, but had lived in the Middle East and in the U.S. Those three were the sort of, and myself were the regular ones. There were some other people that sometimes came. So that was early on. That was how I really learned, was from those brothers. A lot of reading, both reading the translations of the Quran, and before I converted, I read the translation of the Quran. Books in English. I've done a little bit of online stuff recently, but I'm not. I guess I'm not committed enough.
I see.
Because it takes a lot of commitment,
Yeah, true.
and I find my time commitments and other things keep me from doing it. For a while, when I was on holiday, I did a good job, and then once our holiday ended, then I haven't actually done any of the lessons since then. But I'd worked through about 8 units, and I was actually, even though I've been a Muslim for a long time, it was a course on converting to be a Muslim, and part of the reason why I was doing it was because I never really had a course on it. I just, picked up things from people and read and things like that. And I was also it's an online university, Islamic online university. And I was also enrolled in, I guess I'm still enrolled in an Arabic course. And I've tried learning Arabic several times, but I've never been able to maintain the commitment, both having a teacher and me having the time.
Who teach you to recite Quran?
My father-in-law did some. Probably when I was at Penn State. So actually, when I first started praying, I prayed in English.
Oh,
You read Quran in English?
No, I did the prayer in English. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The recitation in English.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't remember who gave it to me, but it was probably at Penn State. Somebody gave me a book on how to pray. It was actually a photocopy of a book on how to pray. And so I basically learned from that.
Okay. So the next question is there any similarities between Islam and your previous religion?
Because I was raised Christian, and so of course Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all have the same roots back to Abraham. So yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. I think one of the reasons why I converted is that much of what Islam is about were things I already believed in. It actually was more in line with my beliefs than Christian
It's a bit
than Christian.
synchronized with each other.
Yeah, a lot of it's the same. There were certain things I had problems with in Christianity, but those things don't exist in Islam. Specifically, I was Catholic, and in Catholic religion, for example, when if you've committed sins, you have to go to the priest and confess your sins to the priest, and the priest will absolve you of your sins for God. And I've always felt like, why does a priest have to do that? Why can't God do it?
Yeah,
right. And so in Islam, it's more you don't go to somebody and confess your sins and have them forgive your sins. You pray to Allah and so when I learned about Islam, what I found was that the Islamic beliefs fit better with my beliefs, my personal beliefs, than the Catholic religion did. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was actually quite natural to convert.
Okay, and number 10. What is your perspective toward Islam before and after being a Muslim?
Your perspective. Meaning, before you be Muslim, do you think?
How do you see Islam?
Yes.
I had very little. I can't say little. I had some contact with Muslims growing up, but really didn't know anything about the religion.
I see.
So I didn't really have a negative image per se. In the U.S., a long time ago, the Iranian hostage crisis and things like that. So there were some sort of negative things in the press about Muslims, but it's probably not as much as what it seems like today, I guess. And most of the contact I had with Muslims when I was young was actually with Iranians, because the town I lived in, Iranians used to come for the college there. And so I had seen some of them around the town. Very small town, so they would stick out because of that.
Okay.
And we had at my high school, we had a Iranian foreign exchange student who came for like 6 months studying at our school.
Okay.
And then went back to Iran. So I didn't really have a negative image of Islam before I became Muslim, and so I guess more of it, I just became more aware of things. Would be, I guess, how my perspective changed. I think before that, very little contact, very little awareness.
For next question, what do you think other think about Islam? What do you think other people think about Islam?
It varies a lot. It varies a lot because there's different people have different perspectives.
True.
I think most of the people who know me, and I'm talking about in the U.S. rather than here, because I think obviously here, most people I know are other Muslims, and they're going to have a positive perception of it. But I think most of the people I know actually have a fairly positive perception about Islam. I'm sure that they are exposed to people who have maybe a negative perception, but I don't think they're influenced by that, because I think they know me, they know other Muslims. My mother, before she passed away, her doctor was a Muslim in the U.S. So, and I don't think, for them there was no negative thing about my doctor's a Muslim or anything like that. It was normal, okay thing, even though where I'm from there are not many Muslims.
Okay, so
I'm from a sort of a rural area. In the big cities in the U.S., there's large Muslim communities. But like where I'm from, there's basically no one.
Okay.
there are actually one or two, but there are people like me, people who have converted.
So maybe up to the places in the place, something like for example in the country, if the country is there are a lot of Muslims there, they may have good perception, right? But if the place maybe some kind of less population of Muslims, they may have no idea.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't. I think whether they have a positive or negative perception depends more on their experiences
The experience.
and the way they're brought up.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people in rural areas like where I'm from can have very negative opinions because of the news and things like that, not from their own personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
In the cities, the problem can be that they again get the same negative stereotypes through media, and then maybe they have their contact with the Muslims there maybe are not positive experiences, possibly, and it could be from their side too, meaning that maybe they go and they harass Muslims and things like that, and so of course, if they do go harass people, they're not going to get a very positive response. And so, even if they're exposed, they may still have a negative image or perception because of the media, because of their background and experience.
Okay, our next question. Which part of Islam that attracted you the most until you decided to become a Muslim?
Like I mentioned earlier, when I learned about Islam, what I found is that the Islamic beliefs fit my personal beliefs better than the religion I was raised in. When I learned about Islam, I wasn't a practicing Catholic, and part of the reason was because there were things in the religion I didn't believe in and had problems with. They didn't match with what my beliefs were. But I actually surprisingly found that Islamic beliefs very much matched with mine. So for me, it wasn't so much that I changed my beliefs. It was that I found the system that fit my beliefs. So maybe it's sort of like I was a Muslim before and I just didn't realize it. Because I didn't know about Islam.
It's something like you have already implemented the Muslim way.
But I hadn't implemented it because I didn't know about it.
Yes.
But my personal belief system fit very much with Islamic belief system. Because before I became Muslim, I drank alcohol and things like that because as a non-Muslim, no problem. There's no reason not to. But drinking alcohol is not something that's that important to me. So it wasn't a difficult thing to give up. But it was more of the beliefs. The Islamic beliefs fit more with my beliefs.
All right.
Okay, next. What is your feeling when you were fasting for first time Ramadan? That already answered actually.
I've sort of answered, but actually the first time I fasted, I was not Muslim.
Just try to.
Yeah, it was more trying to because I had learned about Islam. I learned about Islam for maybe roughly 2 or 3 years before I actually converted. And so for that year, it was I knew enough about it to know that you have to fast during the month of Ramadan. So I tried and was able to do it. Actually, when I converted because it was Ramadan, and I was going to fast again. I wanted credit, so I converted at the beginning of Ramadan. The following year after the first time I fasted.
Okay.
Is it like for the first time? Is it like for 1 day only, or is it for 30 days?
No, I fasted the whole month of Ramadan. I had fasted for a few days at a time before that. But that because the question was the first time fasting Ramadan. So the first time I fasted Ramadan was before I actually converted. So I wasn't Muslim. Was not Muslim at the time.
Okay. The last question. Does people around you support your decision?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. My family was okay with that. Yeah. So I that's why the question about challenges. Alhamdulillah, I don't know, for some reason I haven't had great challenges. And I know some converts have
to face their family members.
Yeah, and for some it's very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why, but for me that wasn't a problem.
Maybe Allah, something that accepts you with open-heartedly.
Yeah. I mean, I think every person has their own challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and alhamdulillah, that wasn't one of mine. Because I'm afraid that some people might think when they convert there's difficulties that Allah doesn't accept me, but that's not the case. That's their particular challenge,
Yes.
and they need support to get through that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And maybe part of the reason I didn't have a problem was because of having support.
Having support with.
And I think with a lot of mu'alaf, that's
Oh.
a real challenge for them. They don't have the support.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to give support to them.
How old were you when you first converted Islam?
28?
28.
20? Think about it a minute.
Zero to ten.
Yeah, I think I was 28.
That's right. At that time it's in Malaysia.
No.
No.
Actually, I was in the Philippines at the time.
Philippines.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I just happened to be in the Philippines when I really learned about Islam in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to be in the Philippines when it became Ramadan and wanted to be Muslim for that Ramadan.
Right.
Yeah.
So the support that you have mentioned before are from your family members, also friends, also other mu'alafs?
And my wife.
And your
Yeah, my wife.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So I can thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa, for your cooperation and your answers.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's puts the end of our interview session. And once again, thank you very much for your time. And inshallah, if Allah wills, we'll see you again in next future.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
See
very
again.
much.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Right.